Hi there, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in the East. New allegations against the embattled Democratic nominee for Maine's Senate seat, Graham Plattner, this time of rape, may finally force him from the race. It is a race that is critical to Democrats' efforts to retake control of the Senate in November. One of Plattner's closest allies, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, has joined the calls from party leaders like Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Cory Booker, the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. They have all demanded that Plattner bow out of the race. The New York Times reports this, quote, in a private call with his campaign staff Monday evening, Plattner did not announce plans to withdraw, but implied such a decision would be coming, according to 3 people familiar with the conversation. He said that he believed he still had leverage to influence which candidate would replace him on the ticket and wanted to ensure that the movement his campaign had built would continue, the people said. This all comes after Politico reported that a former girlfriend of Plattner's said that he raped her. Politico reports this, quote, a woman, Jenny Roscoe, who dated Plattner, says he forced her to have sex with him nearly 5 years ago, despite her repeated objections. It's an allegation Plattner denies. Roscoe described the alleged assault this way, quote, I remember him grabbing my pelvis and being really forceful of me, she said. Quote, I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, like, this is no longer my choice, end quote. Politico reports this, quote, Roscoe previously described reckless and unsettling behavior by Graham Plattner to the New York Times, but says she didn't go public with the specific assault claim because she didn't want to be known as a rape victim. In a video responding to the article, Plattner denies the allegations. However, he said that being, quote, mindful of the political reality the reporting will inflict, we are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward. Time is of the essence, as Plattner must drop out by this upcoming Monday, July 13th, in order for Democrats to be able to replace him on the ballot. If he does drop out, the Maine Democratic Party has until July 27th to replace him on the ballot. Maine Senate seat is considered one of Democrats' most likely pickup opportunities in November's critical midterms. Plattner has been dogged by a steady stream of scandals that began before the primary had even taken place. They include that he had a Nazi symbol called a Totenkopf tattooed on him, past Reddit posts that were racist and appeared to defend sexual abuse, and allegations that he engaged in physically aggressive and disturbing behavior toward ex-girlfriends. And now, this latest reporting, the allegation of rape. This reckoning by the Democratic Party over how a man who has so much baggage, to put it mildly, has been tolerated and embraced and permitted to stay in this critical race for so long during an election year where the stakes for our democracy could not be any higher, is where we begin today with a journalist who's been covering the story on the ground in Maine for the Bangor Daily News, Michael Shepard. Also joining us, Democratic strategist and Columbia University professor, political analyst Basil Smikle's back, and senior political analyst, host of the Runaway Country podcast, and author of the Substack, How the Hell, with Alex Wagner. Our dear friend Alex Wagner is back with us. Let me start with you on the latest reporting. Michael, just tell me the state of the Plattner campaign right now.
Yeah, not good, right? He lost Bernie Sanders today. Our revolution, while I was getting on the call here, endorsed Troy Jackson, the former state Senate president, who filed with the FEC to explore a run today. So it's a matter of time, I think. What Graham Plattner is going to have to leave this race by Monday. The Monday deadline also obviously looms, but I think this is really a matter of hours for this campaign. There's just no path forward here, right? So he seems to be trying to exert a little bit of leverage here. I'm just not really sure how much he has, right, with no support left, essentially.
Michael, what is it about today? Is it that rape crosses a line for his elected endorsers, or is it that his supporters are actually revolted by an alleged rape?
I think it certainly is something that starts at the sort of top of the party, right? We saw the leaders of the Maine Democratic Party make a pretty extraordinary move to come out and issue a statement in their own names last night, right, saying he should get out of the race. And of course, national Democrats followed, and a lot of groups and candidates. And so there's no prominent Democrat still defending him. today. And I think it's a number of things, right? I think there was a sense before this that one scandal, even similar in size to some of the ones that he has encountered, right? Going back to October, the Reddit post, the tattoo, the New York Times story about, allegations of toxic and violent behavior, right? I think there was a sense that one more thing, right, was always going to break the back of this campaign. And this one is just so much bigger, so much more visceral, right? And I think that it's just a bridge too far. So I don't think it's any one thing. I think it's a combination of things. But obviously, this is a much more serious allegation than those he's faced in the past.
I want Alex Wagner to read you the Politico reporting about this allegation. This was exclusive reporting in Politico under the headline, "Woman Who Dated Graham Plattner Says He Sexually Assaulted Her." Rasko said she smelled alcohol on his breath and believed he was, quote, almost blackout drunk because Plattner ignored her protests and continued to grab her after knocking over an antique sewing kit, spilling small needles everywhere. Quote, "I had been telling him these words like, no, don't," she recalled. Quote, "and the look on his face and realizing what was happening, I just realized that, like, I'm in a situation where there's no consent here," she said. She said she tried to separate herself from Plattner by telling him she couldn't be in that room anymore, after which he followed her to her bedroom and had sex with her against her will. It is an allegation of rape by a woman who has come forward against all of her interests. She has said that she agrees with his politics. And I guess what I'm sitting with is how is this the guy that gets all the deference in the Democratic Party in the post-Me Too movement? How do we sort of, in this one campaign, forget all the things we learned about women?
Well, this is the guy. I mean, remember, Nicole, one of his more infamous Reddit posts was, "I wish people would just take some responsibility and not get so effed up that they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to." Right? That's what Graham Plattner said. To say that and then to be accused of this displays such a profound, hubris isn't the word, but it is just shockingly irresponsible. It is also revelatory in the sense that it suggests that Graham Plattner himself hasn't come to terms with any of this. I mean, I think even his defiance in the wake of this is exemplary of someone that is in total denial about the darkest of the skeletons in his closet and the darkest demons that he harbors inside him, if these allegations are true. This is someone, Rasko says that the ex-girlfriend in question here, says that she, after this encounter, she sent a message to Plattner on Instagram saying that the encounter they had was not consensual and that she never wanted to hear from him again. Now, the Instagram message apparently is gone, but if we believe what she's saying, and I think these allegations are entirely credible, Graham Plattner knew that he had a woman in his not-so-distant past who had accused him of rape and went forward and lied to the American public and lied to his supporters and said nothing else was coming out. And Graham Plattner, the man, never got back to a woman who accused him of rape. He never spoke to her again. I mean, these are kind of things that when you ask yourself, okay, well, why is this disqualifying? That is not the behavior of that's the behavior of someone who not only doesn't belong in the U.S. Senate, but is clearly a bad person. I mean, the levels of betrayal here on both a political level and a human level are fairly profound.
Yeah, Alex, I want to put up the Reddit post that you're talking about. This is something that he doesn't deny writing in 2013, quote, "Holy F, how about people just take some responsibility for themselves and not get so effed up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. Men and women, you make a choice to consume enough of a substance to lose your self-control. So if you don't want to be in a compromising situation, act like an adult for F's sake." Just an unbelievable mirror to the specificity, Alex, of her account of what she details, or what Politico reports that she detailed, is that he suggested he was coming over. She told him not to. He came over. She sort of says her house was open, so he came inside, and she says that the sex that they had was not consensual. I guess what's so striking, though, is that the New York Times reporting from about a month ago is about, on the spectrum of abuse and violence, it is certainly about unstable behavior. It's certainly described as toxic behavior by women. It is on the same dial, I guess, as these allegations. What do you think the soul searching is? Not just in the Democratic Party, but for all of us who cover these things.
Well, listen, I think, first of all, I thought back then when the first tranche of these allegations came forward that the Plattner campaign should have had a lot more explaining to do. But we're caught in a moment where there is such profound desperation to have some check on Trump's worst impulses, and there is such hunger for Democrats to control the Senate that it feels like people were willing to abide a form of dangerous masculinity that in a pre-Trump era would have been totally disqualifying. And I think it does prompt some real soul searching about, what we ask of our quote unquote warriors and what we abide and what we stomach as a society and as a party. When it comes to, true fighters and what it looks like to be a man in the 21st century. I mean, honestly, without, sounding too much like a college professor, I do think so much of the crisis right now is the collapse of the patriarchy and people being completely at sea in trying to figure out what it means to hold power and to keep power and to wield it in a just fashion. And the Plattner campaign just raises a huge set of questions about what strength means and what crosses the line when you are a strong person. And I think there's a lot of gut checking that needs to happen inside Democratic circles, because what is abundantly clear is this person has not had a check on his power and has felt unfettered and unapologetic about exercising that power and not offering any explanation for it until now.